Hello, friends, and welcome to a Friday edition of Your Daily Detroit, sharing what to know and where to go in Southeast Michigan. Welcome to episode 987 of the podcast. It is Friday, May 20th, 2022, and from east of Woodward in Detroit's beautiful North End, I'm Jer Stays.
And from west of Woodward, I'm Devon O'Reilly. That 987 has a nice ring to it, but not as good as 1000.
We are almost there, and in fact, you can look on Facebook and Eventbrite. We've got that event because I'm just going to keep repeating it over and over again because I'd love to see people there.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait, Jer. We're going to see some faces. It'll be nice. Hopefully, mostly outdoors, so we can try and stay safe. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yep. The congregation, June 10th. It'll be a happy hour. What are you drinking, sir?
Well, Jer, I'm drinking a coffee, which is pretty normal for this time and this day, but it's not so much what I'm drinking as what I'm eating today. I went and checked out a new bagel place in Dearborn that's actually a bagel place inside of a burger place.
Oh, wow. So it's like a turducken of bagels.
Yeah, exactly. Essentially. So they're open really early in the morning. I think they open at 5 a.m. And it's this local couple that makes the bagels fresh every day, and they sell them till they run out. It's called Brazen Bagels. So check them out on Instagram. They have a social media presence. They have multiple flavors. I grabbed a couple everything, couple Asiago. You can do like a sandwich. You can do different kinds of cream cheeses, but like super kind of like small, but really fresh operation there. And yeah, they usually run out. I talked to the owners. They usually run out by about 10 o'clock. So if you want to get your bagels, you got to get them early and for breakfast. But they're starting small with this little kind of bagel shop within the burger place. The burger place is Iceberg, by the way, on Outer Drive and Pelham Road in Dearborn.
Oh, okay.
Great. We don't have bagel places. I'm seeing like Detroit, Dearborn, any of this area. We don't have good bagel places. So this is a welcome business.
I'd be interested to hear listeners and what their favorite bagel places and where they are, because I can think of some up the Woodward corridor. Now, my follow-up question is, what is this bagel like? Like, is it got like more of like a harder outside? Like, what does this bagel consist of?
Yes, it's a good question. So it's definitely more of the kind of like fluffier type of a bagel. So it's not super crusty on the outside. Obviously, there is a crust. The inside, it's pretty substantial. It's very kind of like spongy in a good way. It's still moist inside. So it's definitely on the heartier side of bagels and not too crunchy.
Well, I'll say this. If you haven't had fresh bagels in your life, there is a huge difference.
Yes, for sure. Oh, absolutely. Yes. I mean, there's no, it's spongy and soft, but it's not not overly chewy like a bagel that's been out for, a few hours or days or whatever. So it's definitely a winner, and glad to see them. I think they have an eye towards expansion. So maybe we'll see some Brazen Bagels at a corner near you sometime soon. And now, Jared, what are you drinking? Coffee as well?
Yes. In fact, I went to an old standby, Cafe 1923, over there on Holbrook and Lumpkin in Hamtramck.
Oh, that's a great spot. Great spot.
I do enjoy me a nice coffee for sure, a little shot of simple syrup. But the vibes of this place, I love the vintage vibes. I took some pictures just to share it in case you don't know it, because it's been around since 2006. It's an old butcher shop. We don't have too many businesses like this, like in these old commercial buildings with what looks to be residential up top. And there's multiple places to like sit and do work. Like the interior vibes of this place are really a huge strong suit for it, where you can just be like, do your thing or read. There's a great little like butcher counter style area up front. And I love like the vintage stands. Like one of the tea stands is like an old Hostess like rack, which I love, like old. And then the back, you've got kind of like a reading room, like books and all that. And then beyond that, you've got a patio. And so there's all this space in this area where you wouldn't think that there is.
Yeah, the 1923 is definitely a hangout spot. I mean, you can do a grab and go coffee there, but it's a much better experience if you can kind of sit around for a while. Like you said, grab one of the couch spots or one of the patio spots if the weather permits. Just a real nice place to just hang out, read, listen to podcasts like Daily Detroit,
So I've been out and about. Usually it's where has Devon been, but I've been places.
Oh yeah, Jer?
Yes.
Where have you been?
I went to that was fancy. I went to the VIP preview for the Immersive Van Gogh exhibit at 311 East Grand River at the Lighthouse Art Space.
Oh, nice. I've been hearing a lot about that. So I'm interested to hear your take because I was very intrigued by it.
Okay, so I think there's two treats in this one. First off, it's in the Harmony Club building, which was recently renovated. Now, it used to be like an old German like music club and like society hub. We don't have very many buildings from before 1900. This one was built in 1895. I remember, going to a bar down there called Center Street years and years ago in the basement. And the vibe between what it was years ago and now, like they've done a lot of work. Lighthouse Art Space has, done a really nice job with it. The opening was a who's who. I mean, you even had like the city council president, Mary Sheffield there. And then it's like multiple stories of like immersive Van Gogh action.
Hopefully, this gets people to the Harmony Park area, Paradise Valley. I know there's a lot of development potential going on there. So very cool as kind of a cultural center. I think that could be kind of something they lean into. So more stuff like this immersive Van Gogh experience.
And the inside with this exhibit, it's 50,000 square feet of projected story on the walls and on the floors. And it's just really cool. It's like a 35-minute loop. You can stay as long as you want and kind of like just get into the thing. It's made by a group out of Canada, actually. Tickets, I think they're going to be like $40 to $55, depending on when you go. So it costs some money, no doubt, but it's like a very like art experience. And they've like, this has traveled the whole country. It's a super popular thing. And I just, wanted to check it out.
I will definitely check this out. And, like you said, it's $39 to $55 basically. I mean, hey, it sounds like it's really worth the experience, right?
Understand that like you're going to want to like sit and enjoy the vibes of it, right? Because there's a couple of rooms for it, for this loop, one smaller, one larger. And this is more of like a just let it move you kind of situation. The animation on this is really great.
Very cool. Well, Devon's date night suggestion is check out the Van Gogh exhibit and then just walk right around the corner and go to my favorite restaurant, Vertical.
You do love Vertical. You do.
I love Vertical, and it's right there. So perfect little combo there.
All right, let's continue on some Detroit news. The Detroit People Mover reopens today, Friday. It's going to have some fewer stops for a while, about half the stops, and limited hours, no Sunday services. They kind of like run or walk before they run to get this turned back on. I'm glad to see it back. I'm interested to see that like the Rensen is one of the stops that is temporarily closed. I know that they are working on like getting these things up to snuff as far as inspections and all that other stuff. But the People Mover itself, I don't know. This got me thinking, do we need all 13 People Mover stations?
You know what? To me, Jay, this is a really interesting catch-22 here because I see what they're doing in terms of less stops. I would hope that also means you can get places quicker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because less stops means you can get to and fro quicker. So I get that. And the operating hours, to me, struck me as a little strange. They definitely seem to be angling for more of like the business crowd or the daily crowd because you're closed at 7 p.m. on Fridays and you're not even open on Sundays.
But on the other hand, there's a lot less of that kind of travel, right? We don't have JLA anymore. They renamed a couple of the stops, in fact. The one that was Cobo is now Huntington Place, which is interesting. And then the old JLA stop is now labeled West Riverfront.
But what also strikes me is I'm looking at this map. They basically took out every other stop-ish, but it leaves some huge holes. For instance, you've got the Grand River stop, you've got the Grand Circus stop right there in Grand Circus, which is a very popular one because it's right by a hotel. It's right by that's where you're gonna get off. That's where you're gonna get off if you're going to the games. But then going east, you got nothing. They took out the Broadway station, they took out the Cadillac Center station. You got nothing until Greektown. So I feel like there's a big kind of a big hole there. And then they took out my personal stop going to the office. They took out the financial district stop. So basically you've got Millender Center and then you don't have a stop again until Huntington Place. And I think there's a lot of activity in there. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I know that they're saying they're going to turn these back on. And I get it that they're going to do that. They're also going to be free for the next 90 days. But this opens up a bigger conversation. And I say this with all the love in the world because I have so much affinity for the People Mover. I grew up with it as a kid. Like, it's of my generation. But I mean, we're looking at, and some of this is going to have to be federal money but we're looking at having to spend $100 million for new cars and upgrades in the next few years to keep this thing going. And I think we're reaching that inflection point where either we need to invest in this thing and like make it a thing, or we need to pull the plug. And I hate to bring that up, but I love the People Mover, but I also don't really know what it serves right now.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, Jer. I mean, at this point, if you're going to invest in it, it needs to do more than it does right now, frankly. I mean, it just has to do more. And if you're going to not invest in it, it just becomes this kind of concrete albatross that's around the city. So what do? Tear it down? Can you repurpose it at all? I mean, I don't know.
I had one listener send a thing about turning it into a walkway.
Yeah, like the High Line. I like the idea of that, but again, that suggestion is kind of someone thinking about how New York repurposed a subway line, or the High Line in New York. But this is much, much narrower, and you just don't really have a lot of room up there. I
mean, you could do things with structure, right? You could do things with design. I don't want to count it out yet, and I'm really interested to see what listeners have to think. dailydetroit@gmail.com. Is it time? Like, should we reinvest in the People Mover? If we do, where should it go? What should we do with it? Or is it time to do something different? Or would you want to repurpose it? Take it down? Hit us up, dailydetroit@gmail.com. You remember Cash Only, right?
Yeah, that was the kind of secretish bar cocktail lounge that was part of Prime and Proper that we kind of disparaged a little bit because it seemed a little pretentious.
Well, guess what? We're doubling down. There's now the Cash Only Supper Club, and that's in the same space. And the idea is they're calling it a distinctive and hyper-luxury twist on a Hollywood glam-inspired supper club tucked away in an exclusive enclave. Now, the dinner here with their new thing, and I'm always up for giving something a try, but this is a hefty price to give it a try. $175 per person, fixed price, before drinks.
Jeez. Before drinks, that's a thing. If I could do that, if like half that was included like in drinks, but...
Or at least a part of it. Also a black tie or cocktail dress code, along with suits for gentlemen, suit coats. It will be strictly enforced, and it'll be open on Friday and Saturday nights.
I don't like heavily enforced dress codes like that in any situation. I don't know. I'm not liking what I'm hearing so far.
I have thoughts.
Okay.
At $175 a plate, this better be equivalent to a Michelin star.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
I have eaten at Michelin restaurants. If you're not on par, and I know Michelin doesn't do Detroit, hey, Michelin, please start doing Detroit. I don't think it's worth it. Like, you're setting the bar so high at $175 that if you're going to do that, the food has to be 100% on point. Like, that's more than I spent per person at RPM in Chicago, the steakhouse. And that was one of the best meals I've ever had. It's got to be so on point. And you know what? RPM didn't have a dress code like that. Now, everyone was put together, but some of them were more of the athleisure put together. Some of them were more of the business. Everyone was put together. But it wasn't like that strict dress code thing. Yeah, I'm with you. It rubs me the wrong way. It kind of sends the wrong message. I feel like if you've got the money to drop $175 a plate, like, I'll be clean, but I should be able to do what I want to do. Because it's 2022, not 1922.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people dress a lot differently now, especially post-pandemic in casual. And they better have coats on hand, because like, what are you going to do if you're about to drop $600 for dinner with your significant other, and they say, well, you're not quite dressed the way we want. What, they're going to turn that money away? I don't know.
Here's my question. I wonder if it's going to find success as being a see and be seen place. Because I don't know, like $175 for dinner a person, I'm just feeling weird about it.
Well, I think it's gonna only cater to a certain set of people, and it's only see and be seen place. It's interesting you point that out, Jared, because it's like, see and be seen by who? I think it's just the people that you already know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to get too specific here, but if a bunch of old rich people from Oakland County go here to just see each other, sure, yes, you'll see and be seen. Or young, wannabe influencers go there to see each other. fine. But you're not going to see and be seen with anybody who actually lives in Detroit or spends a lot of time there. I'll say that.
That's an interesting thought. I'm interested to hear what listeners think, how they feel. I mean, I'm not against a nice place. I've eaten at really nice places, man. Like, it's the layers of kind of weird, you know?
Yeah, and I want to bring this up because there's something else, and my wife actually brought this up, and it's because she has egg allergies and gluten allergies, and this is something important because a lot of people have kind of allergies to different things. They're very specific in their wording that there are no substitutions, no changes of the menu. They have a prefix. So when we say $175, Jared, you're paying for a menu that has been pre-catered, prefixed. You can make no changes to it. Well, what if you have egg allergies, gluten issues? What if you're vegan? What if, peanut allergies? You're basically at the whim of these people. So what if you go to this restaurant and you can't eat half the stuff on the $175 menu?
I'd love to hear people's thoughts on this one. I'm sus, Devon. I got an open mind, but I'm feeling real sus right now.
Look, Jerry, I gotta say, I mean, even for the man about town, even if I'm sus, I think that should tell you something. My only caveat, and I'm going, I'll go devil's advocate here, is that Jeremy and the Heirloom Hospitality Group, they specifically want to go to the very, very, very top of the market. So you could argue, and I will argue for them in the sense of, look, they want to go to the absolute top end of the market here. That's their spot. That's where they want to be. And if that's the case, I guess yes. So there has to be a very peak to the market here, and so they want to be that, and they are that.
So I don't know if anyone's been noticing the overall economic situation. I mean, there's some good indicators. I mean, Michigan's unemployment rate is rather low at 4.3%. Wages are up, but also inflation is really a thing. You're seeing some stocks get hit in a big way. People are starting to pull back on some purchases. I wanted to call this out because there was a tweet that I saw. Startup businesses are going to be facing some headwinds, that it's going to be a lot harder to raise money, to do things. And I'm just thinking about, we cover new things all the time, whether it's new restaurants, new bars, new businesses, new stuff. And is our flow of new stuff going to be slowed down or changed? And I know you work a lot around startups and such. So I want to talk to you about it.
Yeah, Jared, it is. I'm glad you bring this up because we're not, Detroit, and our startup community isn't immune to this either. People, and I know not everyone felt this, but we were living kind of high on the hog for quite a while in terms of money being thrown around investment wise, VC wise, and things like that. All sorts of new companies that were getting a ton of funding. Cash was much easier to come by. And that's dried up a lot in multiple factors. I mean, part of it is kind of the larger macroeconomic issues. Part of it is, to bring up the, Elizabeth Holmes Theranos. There's been plenty of little versions of that where investors have gotten burned on companies that they invested in that turned out to be, completely fraudulent. I do feel there's several factors that are creating a situation where the pocketbooks are a little bit tighter now from an investor side. And, when I advise startups, this is a tough time to raise money right now. You have to really either, I talked to a couple recently that I've really said basically, go back and perfect the tech, perfect the product. Don't go out and raise just yet. This might be a time if you're an entrepreneur or if you're a startup to really kind of hunker down, double back on what you think is going to make your product or your tech unique, because you're going to need to stand out even more in a field where there's less dollars to go around.
Yeah, and you're going to have some revenue.
Yes, you're going to have to show some revenue, some viability, some proof of concept that it has already been successful in some capacity. You can't sell ideas anymore. It's like I'll use a Theranos example again, Jared, because I've been watching this and it's fascinating. But you can't go in you can't fake the tech anymore like that. Investors are going to want to see this working multiple times and how this has been successful. You can't blow smoke up people's butts anymore like that.
All right, before we go, I want something fun out the door. And did you know that my bologna has a first name?
What is it, Jer?
Oscar.
Of course it is. The Wienermobile.
And it is in Metro Detroit. Now, I don't know all the events, but I do know that on Saturday morning and early afternoon from 9 to 2, they will be at the Farmington Farmers and Artisan Market over on 33113 Grand River. Now, what's interesting about this, I think I'd like to meet up because I think this could be a fun episode. It is being driven by a hot dogger, that is the title, named Tasty Tay from Farmington. So, like, back in her hometown. So that's kind of cool. Like, it's like a hometown visit with the Wienermobile. And, like, I've always wanted to be on the Wienermobile. I've always wanted to learn what it's like to run the Wienermobile.
Jared, I'm going to need some clarification on this because I grew up, I went to high school in Henry Ford Museum, and that's where the Wienermobile was. And I ate lunch at the Wienermobile Cafe countless times. Did they take the Wienermobile from the Henry Ford, or is this a different Wienermobile?
I think there are multiple editions of the Wienermobile. Like, I think that's the vintage Wienermobile. And this is a more modern Wienermobile.
I see.
I'm going to have to ask directly about this, but I'm pretty sure that there are, like, I don't know how many they are. That's why I want to do this interview. I have so many questions left over from my childhood because similar to you, like, I've been to the Henry Ford and such, and that is a question that I have among, like, is this like a live situation? Like, there's so many things I do not know about being a hot dogger. And by the way, this event, you can actually buy hot dogs from the Wienermobile.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah. And the proceeds go to charity.
That's a worthy cause. So
yeah. So just something to check out in case you want to get yourself look at a giant, nearly 30-foot hot dog this weekend.
I mean, and why wouldn't you, right? What a way to spend the weekend.
All right, before I let you go, if you want to support the show, it would really help us out. You can do a one-time thing at buymeacoffee.com/dailydetroit, become a monthly member at patreon.com/dailydetroit, or use that email address, dailydetroit@gmail.com. Get in touch with me. We are taking sponsors because this thing has been great and it's, growing, and we want to do more, Devon.
Yeah, we would love to, Jer. Always looking for opportunities. We're very entrepreneurial in our own right? We were talking about that, Jer, but both of us, I think, consider ourselves entrepreneurs in some form or fashion. And so we're always looking to connect, grow our opportunities, and get more people listening.
And it takes lots of hours. Like, this part of the show that you hear every day, the like 20 to 25 minutes, this is actually the smallest part of work for this entire show,
Yeah, no, it's true, Jared. I just show up and, BS with you for a while. But there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and I know you always thank everyone at the end, but, Cheyenne and Randy and Fletcher and the whole team. I mean, each podcast, Jared, no matter if it's just you and me talking, each podcast is truly a team effort.
Thanks for mentioning everybody. Also, Fletcher and I will be at Keyworth tomorrow. Atlanta United 2 is in town, so we'll be on the social media. And, of course, on Monday, Fletcher will be in the chair across from me talking about all things Detroit City FC. With that, I'm Jer Stays.
I'm Devon O'Reilly.
Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.